I get a lot of questions asking me why I left the carnivore diet. I was nauseous all the time. Once I ate, it was death.
A YouTuber called Vegetable Police has made a video outlining the reasons he quit the carnivore diet.
I was nauseous all the time. I was not enjoying my food. I knew as soon as I ate, I would get nauseous. There was a 80% chance I was gonna get nauseous. There was the odd time where I'm like, I'm not nauseous now. My liver just cannot handle all this fat from animals. And it's just, I haven't been nauseous in like 2 months since giving that up. Going high carb, it's like, oh, gone.
I'm just trying to make sense of this because I followed this guy for years. He's called Vegetable Police on YouTube. I think he lives in Canada and he's quite comedic. He was on a fruit-based diet, I think, and then raw till 4. He's quite experimental, to say the least. But anyway, he's tried a carnivore diet and has now put out a 10-minute video on his YouTube talking about how he felt, essentially.
The main symptom, though, was this forehead rash spreading to my cheek, and then it spread to my chest and legs. That's when I did the 8.5-day dry fast, because I was done. I was like, oh my God, I am like reacting to the beef tallow or something. I think it was just burdening my liver so badly that it was throwing things out to my skin, and I was like, I'm done with this, no more. Even when I was promoting the carnivore diet, I knew it was a fad. I gave up. At some point, I was like, I can't digest a damn thing.
That looks like a case of scurvy to me. In the absence of vitamin C, which you definitely don't get with meat. And we know that there's such a low level of vitamin C in animal flesh, and frankly, after slaughtering, it just completely diminishes. Of course, this is going to impact the metabolic system. And obviously, it seems like he had some massive digestive issues, right? Severe constipation due to a zero fiber intake. It could really affect his gut microbiome. This would definitely impact nausea and, of course, passing of stool. We have things like enterohepatic circulation occurring, whereas, the goal of the liver is to detoxify the system. If you don't have fiber, which basically sucks up all of the toxins and then gets removed out of the GI tract and excreted out of the system, what ends up happening is all of these toxins get reabsorbed into the GI tract, into the bloodstream, and back into this entire process over and over and over again. And this happens multiple times a day. And so this enterohepatic circulation can really impact health over time.
But then, like devil's advocate kind of from me, why then do you think you get those people who are like, I felt so amazing when I went carnivore, like everything's so good, la 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 la. You see that.
Of course you did, because I think this is exactly what Simon Hill says. Whenever you do any kind of particular extreme diet, what it does is it removes 70% of the ultra processed foods that we are continuously eating, right? So yeah, if you're only focusing on meat now, well, you're not eating the buns and the burgers and the sauces, and you're not eating the fried chicken. You may have like grilled chicken, but all of the excess saturated fat is absent in the diet. So of course you're going to be losing weight in that aspect, right?
I'm not sure why people act like carnivore diet is the pinnacle of human potential. You have to admit it's a fad diet. Like, it does work sometimes. I felt lots of benefits at times, but it was never an all-encompassing, oh, this is definitely going to work, I'll live till I'm 200 type of diet. It's a caveman approach.
Do you think it's like fasting in a certain way, where when you fast, you get loads of benefits, right? I guess in the short term, maybe some of those benefits are attained when eating high fat foods. So it keeps you in ketosis. You might get those short term benefits, but obviously the question is long term, right?
When we think about things like kidney health, adrenal fatigue, gut health, hormonal impacts, like elevated IGF-1 levels, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, right? Insulin growth factor. This all happens with the intake of animal-based meat, which then increases our risk for things like cancer and non-communicable diseases. And I think when we think about changing our diet, we only focus on the short-term factor because we are thinking about that external. Will I look good for my 20-year reunion? Will I have my summer body when I go on my cruise? They're all short-term goals, right? And they're all need to be met to fill an external need. We are not looking at our blood biomarkers. And unfortunately, I think it takes a longer time to pursue this diet to start to see the negative benefits that may be attributed to it.
And when it comes to energy levels, they were not good on carnivore, but once I ate, it was death. If you eat nothing but fatty meat without a bunch of added fat, then it's okay tasting, but then you're super high protein. You might as well just give a kidney to your raccoon friend in your backyard, because that's where it's headed.
It's funny.
I don't know if either of you spotted halfway through, he said, once I ate animals, it was death. Now, he's trying to create a metaphor for how he felt, but that there's quite an irony there.
Well, yeah, because he's literally eating dead bodies as well.
Gluconeogenesis, creating energy from a fat cell or from lipid oxidation, is possible, but it takes a significant more amount of energy to do so, and it takes a lot more time to account for. Whereas glucose is readily available in the blood sugar, in the muscle cell, in the liver. And what we do find with people on carnivore diets or high fat diets, high meat diet, they have a lot of caffeine intake in their diet. And I think that would be a really great measure to test. Like, yeah, you're on a carnivore diet, but what percentage of your diet comes from caffeinated beverages as well to provide you that energy to function all day long?
Ooh, I feel a study coming on, Shabnam.
Do you think that this guy is performing a public service by trying these experiments and then broadcasting them to the world?
I mean, if you want to be your own test dummy, absolutely. I think this is more power to you, but I think there is also significant risk. This is where I always say, anytime that you involve yourself in anything like this, I think you should have a medical practitioner available, readily available to monitor what's happening with you, to measure your glucose levels, to measure your blood, to see what's happening to your cholesterol levels. As much as I believe that this may be valuable, I also feel like this is that anecdotal evidence that could also be damaging, right? How can the carnivore person say, well, you're calling us anecdotal, but what is this guy doing?
It's very true, actually. It's a good point, because he's literally just using the stuff about himself. He's not saying, I've done an extensive study involving, thousands of people over 30 years or whatever. He's just saying, this happened to me. And it's this kind of the same, like you said, on the carnivore side. That's exactly what they do. They say, I did this, and now I'm amazing. Look at me.
I think it would be more effective if he was like, come with me to my doctor's office, and here's my blood panel, and watch me take all my fitness tests, and let me do a VO2 max test. But then I'm pretty sure people in the other camp will be like, oh, that person's a hired actor. Oh, those are fake blood panels. So there's always going to be some sort of limitation. And I think that's where the scientific rigor comes into play.
I think it's really difficult when we live in this kind of internet age of everyone kind of just being like a YouTube expert or an Instagram expert or whatever, because like we're saying, it's so hard to know who to trust or where to look to for the right information. But it has to be, as we said, backed in science, actual studies that have been done by people who are trained. Like, we need doctors and research experts to tell us the truth.